Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we have passage 1 from test 2 IELTS 15 academic reading, and it will talk about urban engineers. Could urban engineers learn from dance? Start with the questions. Which paragraph? Keywords. Reference to an appealing way of using dance that the writer is not proposing. An example of a contrast between past and the present approaches. Mention of an objective of both dance and engineering. Reference to an unforeseen problem arising from ignoring the climate. Why some measures is needed to help people are being reversed. Measures reversed. Refers to how transport has an impact on human lives. And here complete the summary with one word only. Guardrails introduced on British roads to improve the what of pedestrians, ensuring that the movement of what is not disturbed is pedestrians are led to access points and encouraged to cross one what at a time. An unintended effect is to create psychological difficulties in crossing the road, particularly for less what people. Another result that some people cross the road in a what way. The guardrails separate what and make it more difficult to introduce forms of transport that are what. The way we travel around cities has a major impact on whether they are sustainable. Transportation is estimated to account for 30% of energy consumption in most of the world's most developed nations, so lowering the need for energy using vehicles essential for decreasing the environmental impact. But as more and more people move to cities, it's important to think about other kinds of sustainable travel. The ways we travel affect our physical and mental health, our social lives, our access to work and culture, and the air we breathe. Engineers are tasked with changing how we travel through benzene industry assumptions that lead to the creation energy-consuming transport system. The emphasis placed solely on efficiency, speed, and quantitative data. We need radical changes to make it healthier. No contrast, no objective measures have transport an impact on human lives. Because he said the ways we travel affect our physical and mental health. B. Dance might hold some of the answers. That's not to suggest everyone should dance their way to work. That is not to suggest everyone should dance their way to work. However healthy and happy it might make us better that the techniques used by choreographers to experiment movement in dance could provide engineers with tools to simulate new ideas in city making. Urbanist, the way cities are made, argues that urban design has suffered from a separation between mind and body since introduction. 14. A reference to an appealing way of using dance that the writer is not proposing. Dance might hold some of the answers. It is not to suggest everyone should dance their way to work. That the writer didn't recommend it, whereas medieval builders improvised and adapted construction through their intimate knowledge of material and personal experience conditions. Building designs are now conceived and stored in media technology, detach the designer from the physical and social realities they are creating. While the design by these are essential, they have the drawback of simplifying reality in the process. Whereas, so whenever we find whereas, it will tell us about comparison. So whereas medieval builders in construction are now, so here in the past, and now is in the present. So two will be C. Approaches to building contrast. To illustrate, discuss a development typical of the modernist approach to urban planning prevalent in created a grid of streets and towers intended as a new pedestrian friendly downtown for Atlanta. According to Senate, this failed because its designers had invested too much faith in computer-aided design to tell them how it would operate. They failed to take into account that purpose-built street cafe could not operate in the hot sun without the protective awnings common on older buildings would need energy consuming air conditioning instead. Car park would feel so unwelcoming that it would put people off getting what seems entirely predictable and controllable screen. Unexpected results when translated into reality. So here climate. They failed to take into account couldn't operate in the hot sun. So they ignore it, didn't take it into account, they ignore it. An unforeseen problem from ignoring the sun. Don't take into account the sun. 4 will be D. The same is true in transport engineering. Use models to predict and shape why people. Again, these models are necessary, but they are built on specific valid views in which certain forms, efficiency and safety are considered, and other experiences of the city ignored. Designs that seem logical in models appear counterintuitive in the actual experience. The guardrails will be familiar to anyone who has attempted to cross a British road. Here, the start of summary on British roads to improve the route of pedestrians. For example, an engineering solution to pedestrian safety based on models that prioritize the smooth flow of traffic to pedestrians to improve safety. safety, while ensuring that the movement of what is not disturbed. The movement of what? Safety based on models that prioritize the smooth flow of traffic. Movement of traffic. Pedestrians are led to access points and encouraged to cross one what at a time. On wide major roads, they often guide pedestrians to specific crossing points and slow down their progress across the road by using staggered access points to divide the crossing into two, one for each carriageway. Each at a time. One equals each carriageway. In effect, to create psychological difficulties for less what people. In doing so, crossing feel longer, introducing psychological, greatly impacting those are the least mobile. For less mobile, another result is that some people cross the road in a way to make dangerous crossing. To cross in a dangerous. The guardrails separate what and make it more difficult. These barriers don't just make it harder to cross, divide communities. Divide means separate communities. And make it more difficult to introduce forms of transport that are decrease opportunities for healthy transport. Forms of transport that are healthy. And paragraph E. Objective: why some measures intended to help people are being reversed. So we have many causes here using to divide. Appear, yes. Designs that seem logical in models appear counterintuitive in the actual experience of their users. And here are the causes. Counterintuitive means they have negative results. So 5 would be E, paragraph E. Objective of both dance and engineering. If their designers had the tools with their bodies like dancers, and imagine how these barriers would feel. A better solution. To bring about fundamental changes, engineering will need to develop a richer understanding of why people Here is the objective of engineering and how this movement affects them. Choreography may not seem an obvious choice, yet it shares with engineering. It shares the aim of designing patterns, so an objective of both dance and engineering. So it will be F.